can't show on screen, so we should be good now. All right, so what are we doing this time? So as you can see, I've got a terminal pulled up, and inside of that terminal I've got tmux running, a terminal multiplexer, and I've got a setting enabled called Synchronized Panes. The way you turn that on is you hit your leader key. I still leave it at the default Control B. Hit colon to go into the command mode. You type set W. Synchronized panes on, and now whatever you type gets mirrored across all three panes in the same visible window. So as you can see, I've got a few different machines here. These are all Raspberry Pis. So let me just go ahead and reset, and I'm going to run neofetch on all three systems. And as you can see, I've got Teralith, which is a Raspberry Pi Model 4. I've got Monolith, which is another Raspberry Pi Model 4, and I've got Megalith, which is Raspberry Pi Model 3. So the difference in CPU speed isn't that huge. 1.5, 1.5, 1.4. The main difference is when I purchased these Raspberry Pis, I did spring for the 4 gigabyte models. I don't think they're offering anything higher than that at the time. They might be now. But anyway, memory's the main difference. As you can see, I also just updated and rebooted these. They're running the latest available kernel for each. I guess we got 71 versus just 7 for the older model here. So what are we doing today? So I've got 3 Raspberry Pis that are available on my local network here. They're all just on my main network, and my network is a Wi-Fi network, as most consumer networks are, but I don't really use Wi-Fi. I use Wi-Fi for my phone and for my wife's devices, and that's about it. I use LAN cables for everything that I possibly can. I keep it all in one part, just my development desk. I actually have a separate network for anything that I do that's work related. So I've got a couple of machines that are on 2 different networks, and then I actually have a pretty interesting network topology. If I run sudo wg, let me turn off my screen keys before I put my password in. Let's test this. The random key. Yeah, that seems to be disabled. I also have WireGuard enabled, so I use, let's bring up the neofetch again. That was probably more interesting than a blank screen. I also have a WireGuard network, so I've got a VPS, which if you saw last stream, my website is running on, and a few other applications and Docker containers. And then I also have a couple of machines that are distributed. So I've got, at families' houses, I've got machines that are connected to the network on their routers, and at my workplace office, I've got another machine that's connected to the network there. And on all these machines, I have, well, let's take a look at this for a second. Let's run a df-h on /mnt. So I guess I still need to mount on Monolith and Megalith. Let's do this real fast. So Now let's do a DF. All right, so as you can see, on Teralith, I've got an 8 terabyte drive. On Megalith, I've got another 8 terabyte drive. And on Monolith, I've got a 4 terabyte drive. And they're all mostly empty, 14, 34, but this is the smaller guy, and 17%. So on all these systems, these are just the Raspberry Pis on the local network that I'll be talking about today. I have rather massive external storage drives plugged in. Obviously nothing huge in terms of commercial size, but for one or two people, it's enough that it'll do. So I also have additional drives plugged into the other systems. So when we start talking about things like backups, when I've got a copy on each of these drives, I also have a copy on my remote machines that are on those other networks that I mentioned. So at my office, I've got another 8 terabyte drive plugged into the system over there, for example. So I've got it's not all under one roof. But for now, let's just talk about what's here on this network. I'm not going to start traversing the WireGuard network and getting into those machines for this stream, especially since there's other data on those machines that I really can't show on the stream, just because I'm under NDA and some of my work stuff is on there. As part of my backups, I'm backing up my work documents, files, programs, configurations, etc. And that's part of the reason why I'm able to use my work network to back some of this stuff up, is because the primary use case is backing up my work, my work configurations, code, etc. And my company realizes the importance of if one of my machines goes down, it's worth me transferring a gigabyte of personal data over the network in an extreme circumstance, when it's mixed in with the other 400 gigabytes of work related programs, configuration, etc. It's easier for me to set up a backup to back up my entire machine than it is to just selectively back up 90% of it. So anyway, that's the reason I've got access to this geodiverse data storage systems. All right, so now we're talking about how I access this data over these Raspberry Pis on my local network. So the way that I originally accessed data on Raspberry Pis, back when I was, when I lived with my parents or when I was at a university, is everything was done over SSHFS. And the reason for that is security. I didn't own or control the network. Well, I kind of controlled one of those networks. That's a story for another day. I didn't technically own or control the networks that all my devices were on, nor did I have control over what devices were joining the network, or what traffic was able to access my devices. So I needed to make sure that, access to my data was secured at a level other than just the network. So I needed to secure it at an operating system level. And that comes at a heavy cost, because whenever these are network storage drives, I have them plugged in via gigabit Ethernet. The lowest common denominator on one of the machines, I think, is 100 megabit networking. But between my two primary systems is gigabit. Actually, the machine that I'm on right now is only 100 megabit. There's the outlier there. But when you have very fast network speed, and you are sending and receiving files over SSHFS, you end up actually seeing a huge performance hit due to the encryption. So because it's all over SSHFS, it's using SSH as the encryption backend. There is a symmetric key cipher that has to occur for every bit of data that's flowing over the connection. And these CPUs are, Broadcom 2711, 2835, 1.4 gigahertz, 1.5 gigahertz. It's really slow. If I want to transfer a 2 gigabyte file, it takes, a considerable amount of time. It's not something where I can drop a load of, YouTube videos or, something that I need to access quickly, and I can't even stream it over my local network. It doesn't make any sense. So it really only works for like an archive retrieval type of deal, unless I'm going to go walk over to the machine, plug in a flash drive, copy the data, and then copy it back. And at that point, why is it even network attached storage? It doesn't make any sense. So given the fact that the bottleneck is the CPU, and the reason why the CPU is a bottleneck is due to the encryption, the only real way to fix the problem is to remove the encryption. Couldn't happen on other networks, but now that I'm in a position to control my own network, and I can set a secure password on my Wi-Fi, and I have control over all the devices that join, and I can have a separate personal network from my work network, from my guest network, with multiple routers and multiple networks running within the same building. I can actually let the encryption go, because I know every device that is on this network. Now, additionally, I have some safeguards that I've set up just in case there's an emergency and someone needs to get on the home Wi-Fi network, my primary network, my .86 subnet. So how does it work? I have it set up. I believe the configuration options are set up that my DHCP server will only allow new devices to take IPs that are above, I think it's 128. So 192.168.86.128 and above. And it will actually reject any device that tries to join with an IP lower than 128, 128 to 254 range. Now, I have additionally the ability to allocate IPs based off of Ethernet. The Ethernet addresses of the clients. So what I do is all of the approved devices read all of my Linux devices and my phone and any tablets, any devices that are going to need to access this network storage are granted an allocated IP that is below 128. So, as you can see on this machine, this one's got .2. If I do IPA, you can see over here we've got 12, we've got 11, we've got 10. So I basically have a map that I've drawn out. I'm not going to give away too much more than that on my network topology. Let's bring back that NeoFetch up. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so I've got a little map drawn out, and I allocate. I know, okay, this block is reserved for laptops or desktops that join the network. This block is kept available for phones. And if my wife wants to have a Windows computer, not anymore, but she used to, or an iPad, or if somebody brings an iPhone, I can let them onto the home network if I need to, but they're automatically given an IP over 128. So I still have, for example, an Xbox, haven't turned it on in forever, but that one has or had rather an IP of, I think that one actually got 128 exactly. I don't think it's even plugged into the network anymore. I haven't turned it on in ages. But anyway, yeah, and things like my TV, Chromecasts, all of those get an IP that's over 128, and they can't access the NFS storage that I've set up. So the reason this video is happening now is I actually had a couple of issues with corrupted SD cards. So what happens when your backup dies? Well, I didn't have a backup of the backup, and I probably should have. But there's a better solution to that. And it involves using SaltStack. We're not going to get there today. I've got a lot of things that are more important than that. But as you can see, I rebooted these systems about 25 minutes ago, and I think only Teralith automatically mounted its external storage automatically. The other two did not. So what we're going to do in this video is, first I'm going to explain how to use fstab or fstab, however you choose to pronounce it, and set it up such that drives automatically mount in the correct place. For me, I chose /mnt. And then I'm going to talk about configuring NFS so that it can automatically allow certain machines or certain IP ranges access to certain folders and deny access to others. Once we get past those two steps, we'll see time-wise where we're at, and we will go over how to make other machines automatically mount NFS folders to their file system. So if you take a look here real fast, if I do an ls on my root folder, you can see I actually have, you can ignore these two mount folders, but I've got monolith here, I've got teralith here. Interestingly enough, it looks like I don't have megalith here, and I've got parched. Parched is another laptop, desktop machine. So parched is actually, since this is a laptop, this is actually mounted my home folder. So this is not a Raspberry Pi. This is not using NFS, and this never will use NFS. This is running on an actual system. Here, let's log in real fast. I'll just run NeoFetch there. So this is an Arch Linux system. With this CPU, I don't have to really worry about the encryption issue anymore. So data can flow super fast, even though it's encrypted over SSHFS. So I don't ever really need to worry about converting that. And besides, in my on my Parched machine, I'm not actually sharing an external drive. I'm sharing my home folder, and that's a lot more serious in terms of, you know, if something does manage to get on my network and it does manage to, you know, spoof an IP and it doesn't get caught and it starts getting access to my network attached storage, my network file systems, the home folder is obviously going to be something I'm much more, you know, concerned about compared to the other external drives that just have, you know, encrypted backups and you know, larger files and configuration. So anyway, let's get into NFS. So I think I already have NFS installed. Let's take a look. Yes, let's just go through my bash history without live on a stream. Let's just take a look, take a random stab in the dark at NFS. And of course it doesn't exist, so I'm going to go take a look at the package name. Looks like it's an NFS kernel server. So I should already have it installed. So here, installed newest version. Here I don't have it, which, okay. Here I don't have it either, so that's fine. And again, the reason for that is, like I said, this guy automatically mounted his drive. Neither of these guys did. This guy already has NFS installed. Neither of these guys do. And apparently I have a new kernel available. I'll get to that afterwards. Okay, so let's take a look at the fstab file. So cat etc fstab. So one thing that's interesting here is I know one thing that a lot of people talk about is the way that you mount your drives automatically. There was for a short period of time some debate on how you set up the parameters for mounting, such as whether you use a UUID or the drive name. The UUID tends to be what people go for. That tends to be the consensus that I've seen, since it is unique and it will never change. If we cat the FS tab, oh wait, I forgot I have sync panes turned on. So let's take a look at gen FS tab. I thought that was the command. Looks like that is the command, but it may only be an Arch Linux command. Well, that's a bummer. Let's take a look at maybe I just don't have it installed on Arch Linux. Okay. So what I'm doing over here on my other screen is I'm taking a look at how to grab the UUID off the file system. Looks like it's BLKID. All right, that's what I want to see. So if we take a look, oops. Apparently that one has a period there. Okay, so if we take a look at BLKID and we take a look at the FS tab that currently exists on this system, as you can see, we've got UUID, this long UUID, and then where we're mounting it, auto default 00. And if you look at the output of block ID, we're actually there's a couple of UUIDs, the partition ID and the drive ID. We're going to use the drive ID since that matches what we have here. So let's go ahead and do that for these other systems. So I'm actually going to go ahead and turn, oh, I never turned my screen keys back on. Oops. We're going to go ahead and disable our synchronized panes because these are going to be different on each. So let's go ahead and see. Let's see, I don't want to recommend doing something the wrong way. I know that for cron tab, there's a, cron tab -E will let you edit in a safe way. Looks like there isn't, not something I can easily see no equivalent for FS tab. So let's just edit it, etc FS tab, and let's create a new entry. Let's call it UUID equals, let's paste the UUID we had before. Go ahead and hit tab, and then we'll do /mnt auto defaults 00. Okay, we should just be able to run mount. And that looked really ugly. Okay. Looks like everything is good. All right. Let's go ahead and reboot this guy. We had a kernel upgrade, so that should be fine. That should go through now, and it will test our auto mount. Let's go ahead and run them etc FS tab over here as well. Let's paste that UUID. Actually, let me confirm real fast. That was it. Yep, that was it. All right, and then let's go ahead and add first where we're going to mount it. It's going to automatically mount. Actually, that's not what auto stands for. It's going to automatically discover the type of mount, which should be ext4, but that's fine. Defaults. I hope I put defaults and not default last time. Oh well, we'll find out. 0, 0. All right, and let's go ahead and reboot this guy too. Let's try mount first. Oops. All right, this should be good. And looks like we got in. df-h on mount. Looks like it mounted our 4 terabyte drive. So that one's good. And this guy will let it hang until it's ready to go. Or it just times out. That's fine too. Okay, so I think I gotta find out where the config file is stored for NFS. I think right, it's under Etsy exports. Etsy exports. All right. So it looks like my config file is just completely gone. All right, before I do that, I gotta disable my screen keys again. It's kind of annoying. All right, then Etsy exports, Etsy exports. All right, so now I'm actually going to, oops, I want my tmux command. I'm going to turn my synchronized panes back on because I'm going to do the same thing for each of these config files. As you saw, I'm going to share my mount folder. So I'm going to add that entry here. And then I should be able to use an IP range here rather than a host name. And that's important because I'm not actually running MDNS, my is it dynamic DNS? MDDNS. Anyway, I'm not running multicast DNS on every system here, only on some of them. I should probably fix that at some point, but I just haven't really gotten around to it. So what I'm going to do real fast is I'm going to split this pane, and actually this is monolith, I think. Let's log in real fast. Screen keys are off. All right, let's turn screen keys back on. Man, NFS. There we go. So that is NFS 5. Give me a sec. Gotta mute. All right, I'm back. This is going to be the FS tab format. This is what I'm interested in later. Don't know if it's 6. Yeah. All right. Just gonna have to Google it instead. Figured it might give me an entry for IP ranges. I want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. Oh, there we go. That was easy. Let's log back out. All right, so we're going to just load a couple of IPs into there. So 192.168.86.0/ and I think to get my octet correct I want /12, but let me confirm that. .86 through 1, and I think I'm gonna try setting my mask to actually that doesn't make any sense. I don't want 12. I did that backwards. I think it's 28 or 26. 24. No. All right, 25 is close enough. 25 is pretty close to what I want. It's going to be through 126. Yeah, no, that's actually exactly what I want. Not 128. So when I said 128 earlier, that was a guess because I divided by 256 divided by 2 instead of 254 divided by 2. So when I get my net mask of 25, then what I want to make sure is that everything is able to read and write. I want to enable asynchronous writes. And there's a few other options that I want. So I want NFS version 4. And version 3 support. I don't want version 2. I don't really care. We should actually, let's do synchronous. I'm a little scared about async writes on this, but we can do no subtree check. All right, let's do a system CTL status. I think it's NFS. What would it be? It's NFS kernel server. There we go. Yeah, NFS kernel server. Okay, so I'm gonna actually do a systemctl restart on that. Let's do a status again. Looks like it all loaded correctly. So now I'm going to go ahead and test it. So let's create a new window on this current machine. I'm going to edit my Etsy FS tab on this machine. And if you look, I actually did have, as soon as my screen keys disappears, I actually already had my monolith. Oh, this is read only. Let me move my screen keys. Actually, what I'll do is I'll split this window and I'll flip them. Okay, so if you look at this system, I actually already have the monolith NFS system, an entry created in my FS tab. So here's my root drive, and then originally I had it mounting over SSHFS. And now I'm going to mount it over NFS. So let's try this real fast. Let's do a df on monolith, and it looks like it's still dev SDA. Actually, I think I might need There we go. All right, so now I should be able to do df-h, and as you can see, it's mounted over NFS. Let's create a large file right now. So I think the way you do that is dd in file is dev 0. Actually, let's just do dev random. It's no network compression happening. Actually, urandom might be a little bit easier. Dev urandom of equals temp dot gig bs equals 4m and is it count? Trying to remember. Just look that up real fast. Yeah, count. Well, we can do 1024 count 0 seek 1024 as well. That should be enough. Oh, I need an equal sign. We got 1 megabyte. Well, that would make sense now that I'm actually reading what I entered. Okay, so let's take a look at this again. So, oh, that's funny. That's pretty funny, actually. I want a block size of 1, not 1024. Okay, let's do that again. All right, so we've got a 1 gigabyte file. If I edit it, actually I don't want to vim it, I should probably less it. Yes, just basically just random garbage. Might need to kill this window. All right, so I'm going to copy this now. I'm going to copy temp.gig to monolith. And let's do a sync operation. And ls-salh monolith temp.gig. And it's definitely not copied already. It's definitely not synced. So I think that has to do with the way that my FS tab is mounted. Yeah, actually it should be fine. Okay, so I'm gonna remove that file now. And let's finish up what we were doing. So first what I need to do is sudo make directory megalith. I already have one for teralith. df-h teralith. Looks like that's just my root drive monolith. We already checked, should have that available. And we just created megalith, so that should also be my root drive. So that means we're good to edit this FS tab as root. Let's change monolith to megalith and monolith to teralith. And let's change the mounting directories. And let's do a sudo mount -av. Looks like we've got 1 successfully mounted, 2 successfully mounted, 3 already mounted. So now if I do a df-h on my system, I should be showing 2 terabytes on monolith, 6 on megalith, and 5.8 on teralith, in addition to the 68 on my root drive. And that should be it. So the last thing to check, let's go ahead and I've got a second laptop over here. So I know that that's where the camera is. So it looks like I'm looking at my primary screen. My primary is in front of me. Let's go ahead and SSH into that guy. I'm going to remove tmux because I'm already in it. I'm going to disable my screen keys as I become root real fast. Actually, I guess I didn't need to do that. Must have suited recently on that machine. Let's also edit my FS tab there. Let's see, FS tab. So here we've got a monolith entry as well. Let's paste that a couple of times. Delete monolith in megalith, teralith. Let's also do it here as well. And let's make sure that the directories exist. Monolith, megalith, teralith. And then let's umount monolith, megalith. Okay, it's already unmounted. Teralith, those are all unmounted. So let's now do a mount -av, and we got mounted, mounted, mounted. And if I do a df-h on this side, we should also see all the same space available here. Now, this is a second machine, so I'm recording on the machine that I'm on now. The reason I hopped into that one to configure that one right now as well is we're going to go ahead and reboot. And so my screen just went blank over here. Let's see. Go ahead and get through my grub menu here. Do my initial login. Do a block cleanup, I guess. All right, do my user login. Start up my X environment. And that should load up all my dot files and get my my virtual KVM software running again. All right, there we go. So now if I log back in, have not mounted anything yet. Let's do a df-h, and we should see, there we go. We've got all my NFS storage mounted, and it's freely accessible without any encryption. It's being protected by my network security, which means it's very important that my AP password is strong and not some dumb my password is password type of thing, and that only devices that I approve get on this network. And the trade-off that I get for that kind of inconvenience is that all my file transfers will be really fast now. So that's really neat. So let's go ahead and launch my browser over here. Let's just see if there's anything going on in my stream. Let's see. Nope, should be all good. All right, that about wraps it up. We got NFS configured on 3 Raspberry Pis. We got our disks auto mounting. we got our systems automatically mounting those NFS file systems at boot. And yeah, that should be a pretty good start for now. Maybe in the future I will talk about getting NFS working over WireGuard or over with Mac OS being the server, since one of my machines is a Mac at my office. Don't let that on my home network here. But actually, while we're at it, let's go ahead and modify the exports file. I already do have my subnet for my WireGuard config. Let me just confirm that real fast on a separate screen. My screen key should be fine for this. Hopefully, yeah. So you can see what I'm typing. I'm gonna edit my Etsy WireGuard WG0 config. So obviously this has got all my private keys on it, but you can't see it, so I'm okay with that. And here I've got my net mask for my WireGuard config. So let's go ahead. Let's double yank, paste, and let's change this net mask to allow my WireGuard machines to access my NFS as well. So now my net mask matches on my WireGuard network. All right, and if I just do a restart on my kernel server, we're gonna do something kind of cool now. Pointless, mind you, but cool, which is I am going to SSH into my server, and I should be able to get a notification every time I log into my server. I'm going to ping 192.168.2.11, and sure enough, I can access that machine. That should be, let's verify which machine that is. That is Megalith. All right. All right, I'm going to sudo sys. I'm going to disable my keys for a second. Testing. All right. We can re-enable that now. So let's make dir -p mount Megalith. And then let's do mount -o NFS 192.168.2.11 /mount onto /mount Megalith, and I'm not sure if this is the correct syntax, but we'll find out. Unknown file system type NFS. We'll see. It could be that I'm missing the NFS package. That could be the correct command, but I don't believe it is. So let's see. -t NFS. That's what it is. All right, so I may need to install NFS common. Okay. All right, what about NFS? Can I find NFS? NFS utils, I think that'll probably be it. Of course. Let's go ahead and Google or DuckDuckGo NFS utils real fast. Looks like it does include the client, so we should go ahead and install that. So I am right now just using -S to install. Normally that's a bad idea, but I did just upgrade the entire system right before I'm doing this video, and I don't want to, pull anything else in right now. So that's why I'm doing that. Let's go ahead and try that now. Mount.nfs, no such device. All right. Let's see what else is missing here. Let's go ahead and search that on this other screen. Yep, confirming NFS utils. I'm just looking at the Arch Wiki right now. Let's go ahead and try -O version equals 3. Let's try that. No such device. So let's see if we can secure copy. So let's touch copyable .temp. And then let's scp copyable.temp to 192.16. I'm not Thai, I'm root. Oh, actually, that might be the reason why. Let's try this. Nope. Okay. Doesn't require a user. So let's sudo chown Thai to copyable. scp copyable to 192.168.2.11 mount. And of course that works. So I'm missing something, and I will probably figure out what it is right after I give up on the stream. Server name needs to be a valid host name, not just IP address. Otherwise, mounting a remote share will hang. So let's edit my hosts, etc hosts, and let's go ahead and add to the bottom of this. Should be root. Let's go ahead and add 192.168.2.11 and tab, and then let megalith. Apparently I can't use an IP address. I do feel like I did know that. Let's get rid of our version descriptor. No such device. Well, let's go ahead and just search for the error. So the kernel modules could possibly not be loaded. So mod probe NFS, perhaps? Oh, okay. Well, I was doomed from the start. So could have been doing it right this whole time. Probably not, but I could have been, and it wouldn't matter because this is my current kernel. And if I show that on my system, I am ridiculously out of date and my kernel's already been upgraded. So I'm actually gonna have to reboot the server right now. It's fairly fast. Since it's over WireGuard, I should be able to just launch the SSH connection now, and because it's TCP wrapped in UDP, it should all just figure itself out later. We'll see if that holds true. Give it about 15 more seconds. And I'll relaunch it. So if I ping it from down here, it might wake that one up. Or it could just not. I can also do I can cheat a little bit. I'm going to restart the VPN service real fast. Let's see. So on this connection, there we go. It just came to life. All right, I'm going to need to put in a password, so let's disable screen keys. And of course, my test key was the enter key, so that failed. All right. Now, that just worked. Needed a reboot uname -a. Of course, now we're running still really out of date kernel, so I guess I lied when I said I updated right before this. I must not have. I thought I did. Should probably do that right after this then. But now if I go to, if I do a df-h on mount megalith, I've got 6 terabytes of storage on a VPS. So that's pretty cool, because I'm not paying for 6 terabytes of cloud storage. I just have access to all my local storage from my cloud system. Due to the enormous latency issues, that's not super useful, but it is still kind of cool. Of course, there is encryption again, given the fact that WireGuard is now encrypting this traffic as opposed to SSH, though that's actually not that big of a deal to me, so I'm okay with it. The WireGuard, the encryption that WireGuard does seems to be much lighter than what SSH does. So anyway, yeah, there. Now we got a little bonus feature. We've got 6 terabytes of storage accessible by my cloud VPS. Actually, it's 8, but 6 available. So there we go. That'll be it for tonight.